In part 2 of our Google Ads audit, we're going to take a look at conversion tracking, which is the most important aspect of any type of campaign or Google Ads you're going to be running, because we want to make sure that ad spend is driving actionable, measured items. So let's take a look at conversion tracking. Through Tools and Settings, go ahead into Measurement Conversions. First, we want to make sure that our campaigns at the account level or at the campaign level have defined conversion actions. So for these campaigns, we're going to be taking a look at phone calls and form submissions as defined conversions. So when visitors come through and call or submit a form, then we're generating leads, and we're happy with that as a result from Google Ads. So within our form submission, this one's going to be coming through the website. We have a contact form, which submitting leads is the primary action for this type of campaign. And we're using a defined value. If there is a different value, you can pass it through, or you can use the same value. Now, this is the best for e-commerce or any kind of data that can be sent automatically that will change the value of each conversion. This is going to give you the best CPA information and the best automated bid strategies. However, for this type of campaign, it's more concentrated on lead generation. So we don't have different conversion values assigned unless you go back and assign them manually, which personally I do think is a bigger pain than it's worth for Google Ads conversions. But you can do that on an import. The source for this one is websites, and we want to make sure to count one. This is one conversion action, so that if we're getting multiple calls from the same number or form submissions from the same visit, that it's not recorded as a conversion action every time, and that'll give you duplicates. For this one, we just want one. The click-through conversion window that we're using is 30 days. Which does mean that your reporting data can change as conversions come in later. So it's not necessarily up to the minute. It will continue to change for 30 days if additional conversions then come back and take action on your website. Our engaged conversion window, this is a little bit more important for display and video. Because then you'll have an engaged view. For search, it doesn't matter as much. Same with the view through conversion window. For the attribution, we're going to be using data-driven attribution. I think this is the default for new campaigns when they're set up now. It used to be last click would get all the credits, and now we're using a little bit more of a data-driven model. It matters more if you're running both search, display, and video campaigns, then those kind of interact with each other, and it'll give you a better idea of how much of it's effective in display driving additional search, or video driving additional search, or remarketing, allowing people to come back and take action. So in those cases, with a larger marketing strategy, you definitely want some kind of data-driven attribution or a model close to what you're doing. For this type of just search campaign, it's not going to be much different from last click attribution. And here we're going to enable enhanced conversions. Just enabling this doesn't necessarily pass through the data for enhanced conversions or user submitted data. You still have to configure that in the Google tag that you put on your landing page. But enabling this setting here does allow us to then do that and have more data and better targeting. So we're just going to enable it and be happy with that settings for form submission. So from the conversions tab, we're going to go into settings, and these are the overall account settings for conversions. This is where we're going to take a look at enabling call reporting. So if you're using any kind of phone calls as lead generations or driving actions towards phone calls, you want to make sure that the call recording is enabled and that your call conversion action is defined. For this one, we're going to use calls from ads, and we may separate the ad extensions from the website calls. We can do that in just a second. For our overall call reporting, we're going to use calls from ads as the setting. Make sure that we've accepted the customer data terms. Basically, you're telling Google that you're taking responsibility for your customer data or any information passed through back in enhanced conversions or enhanced conversions for leads, that you have the permission and right to be able to use this data. Google will no longer take responsibility for the data. It's kind of up to the business if you want to use these features to take responsibility and accept the terms. For this, we do want better targeting features. We do want our campaigns to be more performative, and we're not in a restricted vertical, so we're going to take a look at accepting the terms. For enhanced conversions, so we've enabled call reporting, we've accepted Google data, and now we're on enhanced conversions for leads, and we need to accept this policy as well. We are using form submission as one of our conversion actions, so we do want enhanced conversions for leads. If you're not using lead generation, then this matters less to your campaigns. And we're going to be using Google Tag as our setting to pass enhanced lead conversions. So we've accepted the terms, and now we're going to say, yes, turn on enhanced conversions. Now, just accepting and turning this on doesn't pass back the data. You have to configure the tag in such a way that it will pass back the data. But to be able to do that, first you got to accept it and tell them which method you're using. So for this method, we're going to be using the Google tag as a way to generate enhanced conversions. This setting, engaged view conversions, is more important if you're doing display or video. For us, we're just using search campaigns, so we don't need it. We're going to leave it alone. And app attribution settings, I think these are default to check, but we are not using an app, we're using a landing page. If you are using an app and have Firebase or event tracking configured, then you'll want to share that information here so that you're getting the best conversion data for your Google Ads campaigns. So what we've got so far is a contact form and phone calls enabled. So we've got our call tracking. We just took a look at how long those calls can be recorded. And now we've got phone calls as a primary lead action comes from the website. For the purpose of this campaign, we're going to say phone calls are worth a little bit more, $20 per lead. And then these are the phone numbers that need to be switched out and recorded. Our average call length, I did bump this up to 60 seconds. Which may be a little too high, but I do recommend at least 30 seconds, which will help you filter some of the automated calls, messages, and shorter calls that aren't worth as much, that you don't want to be optimizing your campaign for. We've got the click-through conversion window as the default for 30 days, and for both form submission and calls, we're going to be using data-driven attribution. Now, if you're using GA4 event tracking for your conversion actions, like we said in this link above here, then using GA4 linked and as the source of your conversion actions is a good way to help your data match between Google Ads and GA4. They'll use a similar Google tag, which will help keep the numbers a lot cleaner when you're looking at your reporting in either Google Ads or Google Analytics. The downside is that you do need conversion actions updated to the GA4 event tracking. UA is not going to cut it anymore for conversion actions in Google Ads. They've moved completely to the event tracking from GA4. I've also seen some problems where there is a GA4 property set up that was importing from UA, and now those have stopped working in Google Ads because they're pushing this change to event tracking. So if you have the event tracking configured, then it's a great use. If not, it is a little bit easier to use the Google tag when you're just getting started. So for the purposes of this campaign, we're going to be using the Google tag. We took a look at assigned and pass-through values. One was $10 for form submission and $20 for a phone call. The reason that we have that input as an estimate is because it will help with our CPA and automated bidding strategies for CPA, which is cost per action. If you are using Salesforce or CallRail integrations, then the way you set up conversions is going to be a little bit different because you'll be using those integrations to send data to Google. It also matters, especially if you're using CallRail, to change the way that you do call tracking on Google so that you're not doing a daisy chain of phone numbers, which can be a nightmare for the user experience if this recorded call sends them to another recorded call phone line. Then you'll get a lot of dropped calls and kind of a bad user experience. So if you are using, you'll want that set up in the account settings under call reporting as a provider. For us, for this campaign, we're using Google's call tracking. So we're going to make sure that's off and set that up. Now we've got some good conversion actions. Any campaign that we set up will have a measurable impact, and we'll be able to optimize our spend towards specific actions taken on the website, form submissions and phone calls.